Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, someone who burns the midnight oil with a good book in hand, Hayleigh Kurland, a proud dog mom, painter, and crafter who is here to talk not only about a show that's quite familiar around these parts, writer's Bagel Basket, but also her crush on a leading man who owned the 90s and beyond, Bill Pullman. Hayleigh, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's actually really hot outside. I'm not used to it anymore. So
I know. It's supposed to get warm here too soon. It's crazy.
It's a sweat factory. Like,
I'm gonna be pulling out my summer clothes before I know it.
Yeah, for sure. But where I work, it's really cold. It's a basement. So like I dress like winter, but then I leave and it's like everyone's like in summer clothes and I'm like in a hoodie and a like beanie.
I have a permanent office blanket that I just keep on the back of my chair.
Oh, nice. Everyone should have that. I should get one.
Yeah.
So, before we get started, can you tell people where they can find you and Writer's Bagel Basket online?
You can find Writer's Bagel Basket on Instagram, on Facebook, on Apple Podcasts. You can find it Spotify, pretty much anywhere where podcasts are found.
All right. So all the usual suspects.
Yes.
Before we get to the crush, you were around like 7, 8 years old when Bill Pullman entered your life, and he was roughly about 42. So at that age,
yes.
Had you like sort of always crushed on older guys? Like you were more interested maybe in middle schoolers at that age than those in your own class, or maybe even a hot teacher?
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, my brain didn't register crushes quite the same way. Like, I mean, Scott's been on this podcast before and he's talked about how anytime he had a crush on someone, he wanted them to be his babysitter.
Yes.
For me, it was just like, I just want to watch everything that this person is in. Or I'll watch this movie like over and over and over again. It just didn't occur to me that it's like, oh, this is a crush. Like, I have a crush on this person. So I don't know why that is. But, like, I even remember, like, growing up, I didn't have, like, any memorabilia really sticking to my walls until, like, I went over to my friend's house and, like, she had stuff all over her, like, posters and, magazine cuttings and everything. And I was like, oh, I have nothing.
Well, what was your room decorated in?
Just... I actually used to paint on the walls of my room.
Oh.
No big surprise there. Yeah. Surprisingly, my parents allowed this. But like I had like a butterfly mural on my closet door. I had like an entire like mural on the back of the door to my room. And then after going to my friend's house, I was like, I should probably get like at least one poster on my wall.
You were pressured?
Yeah.
You're like, oh God.
By my own brain. Yeah, social anxiety kicked in hard. And I think I just got like an Orlando Bloom poster, but it wasn't even like I didn't even really have a crush on Orlando Bloom. I think I just kept all of my crushes just like very deep in my brain. So, and yeah, they did end up usually being older.
Yeah, because everyone else that was watching Casper at that time, they were either in love with Christina Ricci, which Chris from Boozy Bracketology, shout out, he's come on through, and that was his hall pass crush. And if you weren't into Christina Ricci, it was all about the 2 seconds that Devon Sawa whispered, "Can I keep you?" at the end, but not for you. Nope. It was all about Bill Pullman. Why wasn't it Devon Sawa? Like, he was so dreamy.
I don't know. I think because, like, you don't get Devon Sawa right at the beginning. You get Bill Pullman. And he's, like, I remember it so distinctly. There's a commercial that plays in the movie where he's basically like advertising his business, which is a therapist for ghosts, which I thought was just really cool at the time.
It's a really cool job.
It is a really cool job. I mean, it's basically like a con, but it is a really cool job. But I just remember hearing his voice and just like he has a very like, it's kind of gritty, but it's very soothing at the same time. And so in a way, I kind of fell in love with his voice first. And then like, I just like, I don't know, I just liked his hair and his like the big cozy comfy sweater he wears. And just, yeah, I think, and like even the way he like interacts with Christina Ricci, I just thought was like very charming and sweet. And you know, he's just trying his best to con his way across America.
Gee, he was a scumbag, but he was hot. So you said you have these crushes like in your head. Was this a crush you like talked about with your family? Were they aware? Okay.
Nope, not at all. It, like I said, it was just one of those things where it's like anytime this movie was on, I would watch it. And we didn't even have this movie on VHS at all. Actually didn't have a lot of movies in my house to begin with, much to Scott's dismay when I met him. You can only imagine.
He was
yeah, pretty much. Like all of the movies I had seen like could fit just like, you know, on one hand.
We owned movies, but like I've not seen a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen, like I just saw Happy Gilmore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like my guy is always like, how could you not have seen that? I was like, well, you're 4 years older. Like Adam Sandler wasn't for me. I was watching Anastasia, you know, things like that. Balto, like, yeah. So did your family ever find out about your Bill Pullman love?
Nope.
Nope. It's out there.
They will now. And it's funny you bring up Anastasia because I think he also has like that kind of look as well, like the hair
Dimitri
and everything.
hair.
Yeah, that I don't even know what you call that haircut, but it was very popular at the time.
I call it the 90s white guy hair because it's like they have no product in it, but it's so like voluminous and it's got that part and it's just like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's like the male version of the Farrah Fawcett in a way.
It's like it's the Rachel, it's the Farrah Fawcett. It's like it's its own little thing, but they never, you know, guys are too cool to coin it something. So just 90s white guy hair.
And you know, it's funny too. I was, you know, Scott and I were discussing, you know, my crush just the other day, and you know, going into detail about it. And he brought up like, oh, so you like Bill Pullman in that movie? Do you also have a crush on Milo Thatch? Because he looks exactly like him. And I was like, huh.
The Treasure Planet guy?
No, from Atlantis.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty hot too.
Yeah. But he has that same like look, like the glasses and everything, like the hair, the big sweater. But yeah, he just like, there's something about his demeanor too in the movie where he's like very like he's very soft but sure, if that makes sense. Like he, even when he's like terrified and running around the house like fearful, he like, you know, gathers himself pretty quickly. And in Independence Day too, like there's the through line with any of his characters I've noticed is there's always like this deep sense of humility. Like when you watch Independence Day and before he gives that famous speech that like everybody knows or has heard of or has seen at least part of or referenced, there's a moment where he like the microphone just doesn't work. And so and you see him, and I don't know if that was like on purpose or that was just a fluke in the movie and they just kept it in, but like he's about like they could have just built it up and just cut it out, and but they didn't. And so right away you connect with him as a person. And the same thing with Casper. It's just this dad struggling to like keep his small little family together. And, you know, he's, you know, like, I'm a ghost therapist, but, you know, I got a daughter to feed, so I'll do what I must.
Would you say that like sense of humility is something that is like a line that runs through all your crushes?
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
They have to be human.
Yeah.
Except for maybe like Dimitri's not a human. He's a human, but he's animated, but you know.
I mean, when I was little, like, you know, there were like certain animated characters like you're very fond of, like the Robin Hood Fox.
Oh, let me tell that. Yes. He's in my top 5 for sure. It's the voice right with too. You.
Yeah.
It's the voice. Yeah. Because really, it's like, I'm not going to marry an animal, but that voice comes through. And it's just the character of Robin Hood, like stealing from the rich to give. It's just such a good character.
He's got that like suave, you know, character to him. So I guess maybe humility is not so much through line.
He gets humiliated, I guess. He does get taken down a notch sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you said the crush intensified with Independence Day, which was only a year after, so you weren't any much older. You were still in elementary school. Was it the speech? Was that the moment you were like, all right?
I do remember there being other parts like in the film, like just his face. Like as soon as I saw him, it was just like, again, that fixation. It's like, oh, I'm sat. I'm paying attention.
Say you weren't open about this with your family, but were you like telling your friends? Like, because I know like we talked about our crushes all the time. No.
Yeah. No, I was just like, it either was buried so deep that I just wasn't really aware that it, like, oh, this is a crush. And, you know, same with some of those animated characters, too. It's like, it's just burrowed so deep.
Really? Robin Hood was a big talking point of my friendship group. We also talk about Woody from Toy Story a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. Well, we play when we would drive to Vegas, we play Who Would You Rather Bang, and we would do Disney characters. And Woody always got very far.
He's got that, like, cowboy strut going for him.
He's Tom Hanks, so you take that into consideration. But when it comes to like Casper and Independence Day, is there like one role you favor over the other?
Definitely Casper.
Is it because it's like a cooler movie? I'd say.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been a little on the spooky side. Like the idea of living in that gigantic, like haunted mansion just really appeals to me. It appealed to me then, and it still appeals to me now.
It was a very cool house. I was like, wow. Yeah, I always wanted to like decorate it.
Yeah, like when that opening scene when the kids are like sneaking in and like the ghosts come in and like scare them, I would have just been like, oh no, I live here now.
One more thing about Casper. Did you like him in Ghost Formation?
You know, no.
It was too much.
Yeah, he was too like marshmallowy for me.
The ghosts of Casper did have a marshmallow appeal to them.
Yes, like it's like, oh, that'd be fun to like fall on.
But you go right through like all their food, which was like a little much for me. I was always like, oh my God, stop eating.
Yeah, I did think the scene where they're like, it's right after he like makes her breakfast and he's like, oh yeah, you can touch me, and like she's like, oh, it feels like tingly and cold. And like I forget exactly how she described it, but I thought that was like there was some tension there. So like I'd say, you know, that was as close to like me feeling something, I guess, in that moment, but for like the Casper character. But aside from that, it was Bill Pullman all the way.
Got it. And like I said, Bill Pullman was one of the it guys of the era. And I think mostly because for me, I would always confuse him with the late Bill Paxton. I think it's just the name. And they're both white guys with kind of the same hair. Did you ever have a thing for the other Bill?
I did.
Oh.
It's actually quite a joke in this household. And I think it all comes down to what I had available to me at the time. Because like I said, we didn't have a lot of movies available. I had basic cable, and most of the time I didn't even know like when a show I liked would be on. So my consumption of like popular culture was very, very minimal. And Casper was like kind of always on at my aunt's house. It was like a favorite movie over there. So usually when I would go over there, it would be on. Or one of my younger cousins would start watching it, and then, I'd get back into it. Bill Paxton, my mom loved the movie Twister. And as it turned out, so did I. And, and I think it was just like down to, this is a good guy to have in a crisis.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And like even Bill Pullman, I mean, he has that fight with the ghosts and he takes them all out. So
true.
They can handle themselves spectrally or otherwise.
You said you didn't have a lot of access back in the day, which I don't think a lot of us did. We didn't really have the internet. I think at 8 years old, we're not going to the store and buying books about our favorite celebrities. Maybe at the book fair once in a while, but I doubt they had Bill Pullman at the Scholastic Book Fair, like a memoir. When you got older, did you start like renting his movies more or streaming?
Through Scott, yeah.
he had his Bill Pullman collection.
Oh yeah, I mean, Scott has all the movies. I was just like pulling them off the shelf. It's like, oh, let's watch this one tonight.
And like, while I don't see it in Casper too much, I gotta say, if there's like one movie of his where I'm like, wow, it is Spaceballs. What do you think about him in that movie?
Yeah, I definitely see it, because he's also got that Han Solo thing going for him. Like the, rough around the edges, like loner guy who also is like a space warrior, so it works.
He's gorgeous in that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the hair is like,
it's doing it.
Yeah, it's doing it in that movie.
Okay, I really need to know, what is that? What makes it so voluminous? There's gotta be something, especially like that was the 80s. They didn't have as much hair tech, I guess.
Or if they did, it was like, it's probably not legal today.
Yeah. It definitely made eyebrows fall out.
Yeah, definitely. There's probably some like obscure Cosmo article from back in the day.
And you have to rustle through like your grandma or your mother's like old Cosmos for it.
Yep. How the leading man gets his hair, camera ready.
Oh, for sure. With like Patrick Swayze on the cover.
Yeah.
In the first two movies, you sort of fell for Bill. He plays like these great dads, and I don't want to like cue any like father figure by George Michael or anything, but I was curious if like you're attracted to people that are naturally nurturing.
I would definitely say so. Like there are certainly exceptions to the rule, like anything Brendan Fraser has done. But yeah, I mean, granted, there are some characters that he's played too that I would definitely, classify as more nurturing. But yeah, I think it was just like both Bill Paxton, both Bill Pullman. There's a humility to all of their characters. There is like a vulnerability. They tend to like be on the softer side, but they're also like I said, very good at a crisis.
Are there any Bill Pullman characters that remind you of your own husband in any way?
I think the closest has got to be Casper. I haven't seen While You Were Sleeping, believe it or not.
Me either.
I want to say from the small clips I've seen, maybe While You Were Sleeping might be the best example, but I'm going to go with Casper.
Like he also just started a job as a ghost therapist, so wild. He's a con man as well.
But he's a con man with a heart of gold, and then therein lies the difference.
And something I didn't know about him that you made me aware of is he's a theater guy. Have you ever gotten to like go see him?
I have not. What? But if he ever comes to Boston.
What play would you hope he was in?
Oh. I mean, I know he's been in the movie Newsies, so I don't know if he would ever return to the stage in Newsies, but as like obviously one of the older characters. But I'd say like, you know what? I could see him in Beetlejuice as maybe one of those like obviously not Beetlejuice, but like maybe one of the other characters, like the dad or the husband there. I forget the couple's name, the ones that die.
One of my favorite movies in it is The Matlins.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Maitland.
Maitland Mountain. All right. Yeah. I could see him as that role. Kind of the same hair.
Yeah.
It's always about the hair when you're casting. Just gonna bring
Definitely.
that hair. And I always am someone like, if you're my crush at some point in my life, like you're in my heart forever. I might not love you as much as I did at the time, but I'm always gonna like keep tabs on you a little. It's kind of like a little obsession. Like I'll still I hold out hope that JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, does anything. Like I'll Google him every few months and be like, maybe he's been spotted, maybe he's done something. Is that like something you do? You're just like, what's Bill Pullman up today?
Yep, definitely. I actually did watch him in The Sinner because like I think he hadn't done really anything. Like he had a big like gap between like his movies and doing that show. So when I saw that he was going to be in it, I was like, oh yeah, definitely watching this. But that is a very dark show. And I never got past the first season because even though he's fantastic in it, the show is so dark, like darker than I can usually handle. So I haven't returned, but I really enjoyed him in that. His performance was fantastic. So that was like the last thing that like I was really aware of that he was doing, and to my knowledge he's still doing that show. Like that's his big thing right now.
You're like, hurry up and wrap that up and go to something a little, maybe a sitcom, maybe maybe a little lighter.
Yeah, something a little lighter that I can, watch from, without a pillow clutched to my chest.
I feel you on that. Some shows are a little dark nowadays. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like
that one, his character in that is like very layered and complicated, and like he's still a really good guy, or at least he was in that season. I don't know if he's changed. But he plays like a more like grizzled detective, but he's got like a darker side to him, but he's still like, there's still like that heart of gold in there. So I think I'd like to see him in something a little bit lighter.
Like, do you think they would ever like not maybe do a whole Casper reboot? I don't see Christina Ricci coming back for like a full movie, but maybe like during the pandemic, the Father of the Bride cast kind of got together and did a little something, maybe like a little 15-minute, hey, we're cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Josh Gad, I know during the pandemic, he got like a lot of like fan groups together and was like doing readings for like Goonies and some other like cult classics. So I don't see why, especially with the rise of like Wednesday. I mean, I could easily see Casper being like next on that list.
It would be nice if like Devon Sawa could read the whole Casper part and not just like show up for 2 seconds at the end.
I know. I'm still baffled by that.
Always confused me how he didn't voice the whole movie. He just like popped up at the end and suddenly he has a whole new voice and persona, but okay.
Yeah, and especially where it's just like, I mean, the line that everyone remembers is like, can I keep you? It's like, why not just like carry it through?
Oh, I know. Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
Forever a crush for me. So, say you and Scott never met. Say you were a prop master at a theater where Bill Pullman was starring in a play. You were in college. You hit it off. You fell in love. What do you think your lives would be like today?
I think we would be like on a lake house in like upstate New York. Just like someplace like nearby, because he's like, a big theater buff. So he'd always, need to drive down to the city and be in a play. But like, you know, kind of like Lake Placid, but like that's our lives without the giant alligator.
Okay, setting the scene, but less spooky.
Yes, less spooky.
I like that.
I'd probably actually, you know what? I'd probably be like, what's her name in that movie? Just feeding the alligator.
You're like, it could
Betty
be my
White.
pet.
Yeah.
It could be my pet. It could be my pet. Yeah. You're an animal lover, I take it.
Yes.
You have fur babies as well.
I do. I have 3 of them.
Oh, I only have 1, and that's too much. And mine's mine's 7 pounds.
Yeah, they are handfuls, but we love them.
Yes.
We got Wesley, we got Stella and McCoy.
Oh, so cute. So, your life with Bill Pullman on a lake. So, we got that. Now we're going to talk more about what you got going on. And fans of Writer's Bagel Basket know you lovingly as I cannot do the Borat voice. I'm not going to try. The wife.
Yeah. Yes.
And you come through every so often and talk about things like Saved by the Bell and We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, which you said you didn't have a lot of VHSs, but you had this one.
I did have that one.
What was it about that one? Because a great movie.
I don't know. It was just like all the weird movies seemed to like congregate at my house. Like my house is like the Island of Lost Toys, but like the movie version of that. We had all the weird ones, and the few actual like legit Disney movies that we did have were usually like recorded on like a blank VHS tape. I can't wait for your younger audience to hear that and just lose their minds.
I mean, now I think like Disney Plus is that like infamous Disney vault. They always talked about things going in like on the commercial. Right? I think that's what it is finally. They opened it and now it has everything you could want except for the Disney Channel concerts, which they need to get on.
Yeah. That makes sense. I never thought about it that way. It's like we finally got into the Disney vault that they threatened us with all those years.
It was scary. It was a threat. They were like, Bambi's going in. And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, Mom, we got to get Bambi.
Yeah, it's like Bambi's already been through enough.
We got to
now he's going in the vault?
I know. Like, Jesus Christ, Mom, hurry up.
It's like, 101 Dalmatians. How are they going to all fit there?
I know, God. But get him before Cruella does.
Yeah.
But what made you two want to like do a podcast together? Like what made you step in?
Well, I mean, Scott, you know, obviously that like Writer's Bagel Basket is like his baby. But as he's like, I mean, one of the reasons I fell in love with Scott is just because of like how passionate he is about film. And, you know, I have like artistic pursuits of my own. Like I love to paint. I like to, you know, make things with my hands. I love to craft. So like all that kind of stuff. But, you know, in our house, there is actually I have framed in a giant frame every movie ticket from our first date to when we got married.
Oh.
And so, you know, this is just kind of like an extension of that. He was the one who really like introduced me to like all these movies because like I didn't really have like, you know, like I said, that like pop culture consumption like growing up. So, you know, seeing his excitement, like introducing me to these like movies, and also it's rare, but I have introduced him to like 1 or 2 movies myself. So, you know, it's mutual, but yeah, it just like sharing in that passion, talking about movies. I have gotten more picky over the years about which episodes I'm on. But yeah, it just, like I said, sharing in that, talking about that, and then sharing in that like artistic passion. You know, I've tried to get Scott to paint. He wasn't as keen on it, but you know, this is something that we both enjoy.
Painting is very hard. We have tried to do those like paint nights, and it just ends up just where my guy's more artistic than I am. I'm just like stick figure, not coming together.
The funny thing is, like, I can't do people.
Oh.
I can do landscapes. I can do like maybe cartoons. I can do animals, but you try to get me to paint a person's face and they'll come out looking like a potato that you've just drawn a face on.
You guys should try. We used to do this during the pandemic. We got really into this where you say a cartoon character and you try to draw them from memory. And it sounds easy, but like SpongeBob comes out wild. It's so crazy what you think something looks like that you've seen a million times.
Oh, I want to do that now. I do remember during the pandemic, I did see that trend that it was like blind, like continuous line drawings. And I did do one of Scott. And he looked at me. I turned the paper around and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, kill it with fire.
Is that a lighter ready to go?
Yeah. He's like, no one must see this. It must remain forever in the attic. Like what that book there.
Flowers in the attic.
Flowers in the attic, but also what's the one? Oh, I always forget. Oh, Dorian Gray. It's forever getting old while he stays young.
Well, you mentioned these movie tickets, which got me curious. What was the first movie you guys saw together?
So it was like the first movie we saw, just the two of us, was believe it or not, Fault in Our Stars. That was our first date, which, I mean, the first date we were ever on, I bawled like a baby. So he's like, seated next to me. This is our first date. He is seeing me ugly cry, just bawling my eyes out. And still he like reached over and was like, patting my hand. But the first movie we ever saw that's like in the frame is X-Men Days of Future Past. And actually McCoy gets his name from Hank McCoy, which is Beast. Like all our dogs' names are all named after like movies. Like Stella, the meaning of it is star, so Fault in Our Stars. And then Wesley, like our wedding had a lot of like Princess Bride themes, and Wesley is the Man in Black.
Okay. If you get another dog, do you have a name already picked out?
Oh, I mean, if we were to get another dog, which. Ooh. No. But I don't know. It might have to be something from Thor. What was the Thor movie that we saw? I think it was Thor Ragnarok. I think that was the movie we saw on our wedding day. Oh, yeah, I think that was it. It was one of the Thor movies. Whatever Ragnarok. Thor movie came out. Yes.
Ragnarok's the best one, so that's good. And really quick, what is the best movie that Scott introduced you to? That you took, like, for me and my guy, it's Jackie Brown. Like, that's now one of my favorites. Is there like one he introduced you to that's one of his favorites that's now your favorite?
Yes. There's a movie that we both love called The Thin Man, and believe it or not, it's like a really old movie from the 30s. And I'm not the biggest fan of like black and white movies and like that kind of, like some are absolute gems like this one, but this normally it wouldn't be like my usual fare in terms of like what I'd watch. But this one, like the humor is like so on point and it's so clever and so fun. And I still think like they could easily like make this movie today, and like they wouldn't have to change much of the writing. Honestly, it's so good and it's so funny.
Like, those are movies to reboot from the 30s and the 40s, not like Disney movies from yesterday.
Right? It's we don't need a spin-off of another like Marvel movie character. Like, just, it's like, come on, guys. We can dig a little deeper here.
They're not trying. No. And on the flip side, what is a movie he thought, oh, she's gonna love this, and you're like, no.
Oh, that's a bit harder because I tend not to really remember the things I disliked. Probably some like sports movie or something. This is going to drive me crazy later. I'm just going to wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just going to shout out a movie name.
Like,
but
Rocky
yeah.
4.
Yeah, probably like some like more one like a more popular movie that just didn't resonate. Oh, now I remember La La Land.
Oh, okay.
Did
I
not
can
care
see
for
that.
La La Land. Any
Uh,
movie with like old Hollywood like themes to it, I don't know. It just doesn't. I just don't like it.
you're
Just
like,
yeah,
that day's done.
yeah.
Get out of there.
It's just like that particular genre. I just can't relate to.
Also, I remember I was talking to Scott and I mentioned you guys have covered Saved by the Bell. He said you'd never watched it, but now when I found out your crush was Bill Pullman, I was like, well, that makes sense because why would you like be watching a show with Zach Morris when that's just like not the type? He's just like total opposite
Yep.
of a good guy.
I never watched Saved by the Bell. I think I caught like one episode of like Fresh Prince growing up, but like all those shows like completely missed me.
Well, now you can either watch them streaming or watch all the reboots of them, which I would say Bel Air, the reboot of Fresh Prince, I think is better than the original.
Oh yeah.
That's my opinion. Yeah, I think it's better. But I was gonna say I started a podcast with my guy. We talk about food shows because we like food competitions, and we're like, why not record what we already say when we're on the couch? And I think it's been really fun because it just gives us like an hour or so just to ourselves to do something we love. So for you, what has been like the most rewarding part of being part of Writer's Bagel Basket with Scott?
Definitely just like it's been definitely like experiencing things that I normally wouldn't watch. Like I said, I know I said earlier that I've gotten a bit picky, but there are times where I'll watch something that I'll never have watched and we'll talk about it. And like, Scott's older than me, so we get to like, talk about his experience, actually watching that when it was on TV or like in theaters. And then he'll see like my perspective, obviously very different because I'm watching it, usually for the first time. And so it's just fun. Like we just like crack jokes and, just go off the rails and, just making each other laugh and just having a good time and getting lost, like talking about, nothing, just movies and, actors and all that nonsense.
And are there any ideas wrestling in your head to like do your own podcast? Maybe about books?
Maybe about books. Also like I do like watch a lot of like true crime and all of that. But there's like a million true crime podcasts out there, so I don't know what kind of unique spin that I could offer.
Yeah, that's definitely like the whoa.
Yeah, it's an oversaturated market for sure. But yeah, maybe something bookish, probably.
It's like you're an avid reader. I wish I could read as like much as you do. I'm a slow reader. I like to read, but I'm like remedial reader, or I'm like it's gonna take me a while. But I would want to know: is there any like book or book series that made you fall in love with reading?
Definitely. I mean, if we're going off of when I was little, before Harry Potter. And actually, I'm currently reading a book that was discovered by this book series. It's a book series called Del Toro Quest. And it was this like really cool adventure series book adventure book series. And it just had all these like cool little puzzles and like mind games in it. And it was just a lot of fun, but it was like this like very elevated fantasy series. I'd say for younger audiences, and then definitely Harry Potter growing up as I got older, and it's all over Bookstagram, but I did have a lapse. Like I did have like a gap where I wasn't really reading much, and then I got really into the Court of Thorns and Roses series. You'll see that all over Bookstagram.
Did I see something about you possibly like writing your own book?
I am actually. It's very much like, I thought about kind of talking about it more. It's very like So yes, I am writing my first book. I started like in my late 20s, kind of gave up, and then now I'm getting back to it. And, because I found like the Bookstagram community, and it like really opened my eyes to what like writing could be like. And, that it wasn't as, it just opened more doors for me as to what like it was to write a book. And so I've been steadily working on that and trying to hopefully get my first draft done this year. No promises, because, I work a 9 to 5 like a lot of people. So it's hard to, put in the hours that, a normal writer would. But yeah, so hopefully, tentatively, I will have a first draft done by the end of this year.
Well, good luck with it. Writing, it's hard. It's hard. I can write you a blog, I can write you a list, but to write fiction or anything, I'm like, just staring. Like, I've tried.
It is very hard, and I've learned a lot from being on Bookstagram and talking to other indie writers. And so yeah, once that first draft is done, maybe I can come back and talk about it more. But until then, it's it's like
I have I have an idea that I've just spent like hours just like picking the names of the main character. I'm like, but it's got to be symbolic, and it has to like go like this. Like, I have a notebook full of just like doodles, and like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it can't be that. But before we wrap up, I want to do a quick speed round that combines movies, TV, books, and Bill Pullman.
Yay.
All the above. So, a recent movie you felt Bill Pullman should have been a part of?
You know what? I would have loved to see him. It's not a recent series, but I would have loved to see him in the show Hannibal. Because now that he's been in The Sinner, I think he could have handled that gravitas of that series.
Like as Hannibal?
No, well, no. I could see him more as like a like the detective in it, whose name escapes me at this moment.
Oh, the other main character guy.
Yeah.
They had like this sexual chemistry.
Yeah, they did. Will Graham, or Will Graham is kind of supposed to be on the younger side, so maybe the FBI director there.
We're gonna stick with casting Bill and things, and a character in a book you've read that you thought if they adapted this into a movie or TV series, he'd be great in.
I could see him in probably like maybe something like A Discovery of Witches, like that series. It's hard to put him in like something more fantasy based, but maybe something like a more modern, like Holly Black. I don't know.
Maybe like that Babysitter's Club show on Netflix that they should have never canceled because it was amazing.
Oh. Babysitter's Club is another series that missed me.
Well, the new one, I would say, like, I love the movie. The movie has my girl Rachel E. Cook in it, but I think what Netflix did with it was by far the best adaptation they were ever going to do. I don't know. It was winning awards too, so I don't know why they canceled it. It's rude. Netflix, boo on you. With that, what do you think is the best book to movie adaptation or TV series?
Best book to movie adaptation. I mean, I think good things are happening now with Shadow and Bone. I think that's being handled pretty well. I haven't finished the second series, but I really did like the first series. I thought that was really well done.
And is there any like book or series that you would love to see made into something live action, but you're fearful that they'd ruin it?
I know Court of Thorns and Roses is currently like, I know Hulu kind of took it over, and a lot of people are really scared about that. But for me, I would love to see, my favorite book of all time is called The Trickster's Choice by Tamora Pierce. And she is a writer that has actually inspired a lot of other fantasy writers, and like including Sarah J. Maas. Like, she has done a lot of high fantasy before it became like really like popular. I shouldn't say before it became really popular. It was always popular, but like she was kind of like creating these big like narratives and like characters and a lot of like badass female main characters. And so this one, I could see any of her books just being made into like a big like series.
Would they be good though?
Oh, I think they'd be great with the right director. I mean,
yeah, things can go south.
Yeah. Say what you will about Rings of Power, but like, I mean, I enjoy it. I'll take the serotonin. So yeah, I think something, if the right director got their hands on it, I think that could be like fantastic. And then I've always said that anything written by Holly Black, especially her, I know like the Cruel Prince series has become very popular, but she's also done other books like there was this one called Tithe and Ironside and Valiant, and they're like these dark, creepy like fantasy stories. And those, I think, like I would love to see those in Guillermo del Toro's hands. I think they would be great.
Put it out there into the world. It shall happen.
Hope so. Yes.
He's all for taking on things. He did that Pinocchio. He won himself an Oscar for it. There you go.
I think he could do it.
Fingers crossed. Or, I mean, was that Bryce Dallas Howard? I just was reading she did very well with some Star Wars today, which I'm excited to watch.
Oh, that's right. Oh, well, I know what I'm going to be watching tonight.
Yes, it has Jack Black and Lizzo, Christopher Lloyd. It's good. Well, Christopher Lloyd was trending this morning, and I was worried, but good news.
Oh,
okay. It was because he was in The Mandalorian. I was like,
oh, there. That's a series that Bill Pullman could be in. I don't know why he's in it and not in it already.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Jack Black and was like, wow, they're just pulling like all left and right, just everyone. Yeah. Which good for them. So.
Put him in that. Put him in that. You know what? I'm putting that into the universe. I expect to see
John.
I expect to see Bill Pullman. Yeah.
Put him in. He would be like a good, they always have like those senators and everything.
Yeah.
Or he'd be like a good, like, if Obi-Wan ever had like a friend. He never has friends. Like, he had like a cool older guy friend to hang out with.
Yeah, like a grizzled, like, Jedi or, just an old bureaucrat.
I love it. We're getting him in there. Like, I'm like writing it down. Like, I'm gonna write to Disney Plus. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Or just put him behind a Mandalorian mask. I just need to hear that voice.
Oh, that's true. You do like the voice.
I do
like
the voice.
That's what I like better about Pedro is the voice. I don't really want to see him. Like, just keep the mask on. So I like in Last of Us is good, but he's hotter in Mandalorian for some reason.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So, before we go, can you remind people where they can find you and Writer's Bagel Basket online?
So you can find Writer's Bagel Basket on Instagram, on Facebook, on Spotify, on, Apple Podcasts. Feel free to leave a 5-star review, please and thank you. I always forget the Instagram handle, so I'm sure you'll put that in the description and everything. So, but yeah, anywhere where podcasts are found, you will find Writer's Bagel Basket. And I will be on an occasional episode. I think the next one that I'm going to be on is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
How was that?
Actually, fantastic.
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Totally unexpected. It had no right being as good as it was.
Would I have had to seen the other Puss in Boots to like this one? Okay.
I mean, there's definitely like characters that like do feature in the other movies, but I don't think so. Like I barely remember any of those other movies, and I did fine with this.
I'm gonna have to check it out because I heard it was so good. I was like, okay.
It's pretty dark for a children's movie.
Ooh, even better. I just introduced my guy to Matilda, and he was like, "This is for children?" I was like,
right?
Yeah, this was my favorite movie growing up.
Well, it's Roald Dahl, so
He was like, oh my God. He's like, okay. But he knows my family, so he gets why it was my favorite movie.
Yep. It's a great movie. It's a great book.
So good. So good. My favorite Roald Dahl, BFG for books.
Mine was Fantastic Mr. Fox. I loved that one.
Which got a really interesting movie.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised that Wes Anderson wanted to do that one, but yeah, it was of all the movies that, or of all the books that he's ever done, I was definitely surprised that one got, the Wes Anderson treatment.
Another hot fox, too.
Yes, this is true.
Well, Hayleigh, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about your leading man crush. And everyone, like she said, you can find all that information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it.